So, you have just bought the Viggen and you want to take it out for a spin on the multiplayer server and kick some ass. Well, I have the weapon for you. It's powerful, it's very efficient, and that's the RB75. So, how do you use it? Put it in RB75 mode on the weapon selector, indicated by the notch where it says RB75. Take the safety off. Then you simply press the T1 button to unlock the seeker head. You move it around with the radar stick, and then when you find a suitable target, like here, you press the TV fix and it will snap onto it once you move close to it, if you haven't already. Then you press the fire button and off it goes. Simple as that. Now, this wasn't the most effective way to use such an advanced weapon like this, and we want to use this anti-tank weapon against an actual tank or some other heavy equipment like that. So we're gonna fly over to the target area. First, we're gonna see if this guy explodes. There it goes. So we're gonna fly over to the target area at waypoint B1. Now, what is the Maverick? Well, it's an American-made anti-tank missile. It's fire and forget, so you can fire it and just forget about it, you know. It will always hit its target unless it gets shot down. There are some glitches that make it go crazy, which is strange, but that's DCS for you. The RB75 is the Swedish variant of the Maverick, and it comes in 3 different variants of its own. A variant, which is standard, nothing remarkable there. The B variant, which has a more zoomed in camera view, makes it easier to find target at long range. And then you have the T variant, which is tung, which also means heavy in Swedish. It can be used against bunkers, warships, bridges, or clusters of enemies, as it has very large, or a fairly large, blast radius. So, I have a few tips on how to make it easier to use the Maverick, because you may be wondering, well, how do you aim it around so effectively? Well, I have a little trick. First of all, you put it in ANF mode with this switch down here, like so. The screen will then always be on. And normally you sit like this. And this dot is where, this dot in the heads-up display is indicating where the missile is currently looking in the default position. It's the bore sight mode. It doesn't move around. If I move this, you can see it doesn't move around the heads-up display like the A10 or the Harrier. So, to see that, I would strongly recommend that you bind the raise and lower seat. And it's like this, because then you can see the dot, and when you then place the dot on your target, let's say this hilltop here, there you go, you can now see that it's pointing there. And then you can just, if you want to do a quick acquisition, you press the TV fix button and it will lock on to the first signature that it gets. Now you can't look onto targets like trees in DCS, I don't think, otherwise I will be able to lock it on. Then you press the T0 fix button, T1 unlocks it, TV fix locks on, and T0 fix resets it to bore sight mode. So how do you find targets quickly? If you're coming in, we're coming in on the practice area, and it's pretty far away. 70 kilometers roughly, and how do you find it? Well, in ANF mode you get this little thing, this handy little indicator ring that shows you where the target actually is, or where the waypoint is placed. It's a very useful reference if you quickly want to find where your target area is supposed to be, because, you know, targets could be anywhere and you don't have time to scan for them like this always. But if you look at this waypoint, you can see it's most likely up in the air, and that's wrong. And that's because the QFE is set incorrectly. So the QFE for waypoint B1 is 1011.5. So we raise it by using this knob. Drag it. That will raise our altitude. Now, because the autopilot thinks we're flying higher than we actually are, it will start to pitch down, because it thinks that we have had a sudden altitude change. So, there we have 10, 11.5. You can also notice that the plane is pulling to the right, because we fired the first missile on the left pylon. So you trim that in the opposite direction, and it flies very smoothly after that. So now that we know where our target area is, now if we look at what happens, like if I move this QFE knob, you can see that the target over there, that ring, is moving up and down. And that's basically how we manipulate it. If you have it set too low, then it would be underground, or it would be up in the sky like it was before. And that's no good, it makes it hard to find the target. So, in this area up ahead, we have 4 targets. We want to hit the most expensive targets, that we can deal the most damage to the enemy. We have only got 3 more missiles, so we have to choose our targets wisely. Now, one of them is a SAM, so that's the priority target. But from 20 kilometers out, all that these guys look like is a single pixel. So how do we tell what target is what? Well, if we look at them through the seeker head in a moment, you can see that some targets are bigger than others, and bigger is usually more valuable. Like a tank is bigger than a truck, for example, or a radar station will be a few pixels larger than anything else. So that's one way to do it. So we're gonna put a dot on the target, and then we're gonna start looking for targets. And I can see them right there. There's a row of targets here. Now we can't tell what's what, and as you can see, the hilltop is slowly starting to obscure us. And now we can now we can no longer see the targets anymore. And that's because the aircraft doesn't actually fly where that dot is pointed. That's where the nose of the aircraft is always pointed. But this indicator, this plane, shows us. So if we compare these two, you can see that we're actually diving. So to fly straight and level, we need to place it at the horizon, like that. So the SAM is starting to lock it up. So what we're gonna do is, well, in a few seconds we're gonna point down. We're gonna slow down the throttle to buy us more time. Place it like this, and then we're gonna look through the seeker head. So which one of these 4 targets is the SAM launcher? I'm pretty sure it's the one on the right, because it looks like it has a radar on top, as you can see. And there is the missile. Lock on, fire, then we go evasive. Was that an explosion that I heard? Huh. Well, anyways, that target should die. Now, the Maverick is pretty slow. So if we look at the target area. Right there. There, the Maverick hits its target. So now we can then... We still have 3 targets left, and one of these is junk. It's also important that you don't hit wreckages, because you can actually lock on to the wreckage of a burnt out tank, and that will obviously be a complete waste. It's better to hit a truck than that. So we then look through the seeker head again, reset it, and we can't yet make out what these targets are. So we're gonna get a little bit closer, and this is how I usually use this. You get close enough, I mean that's obviously a radar, so we take that out, that's valuable. That will cost the enemy a lot. So now we're gonna pitch up a little bit, and we're gonna take down the screen so we can... So now we're very close, and that looks like a tank. Take safety off, and then we fire. So the one on the left was the truck. It's a tanker truck, so it's not very useful. Sure, we could destroy it, we could take out the supply lines, but I would rather take out the tank itself, which costs many $1 million more than a simple truck does. And that is my tutorial. It was a quick little seed lesson on how to do that. I hope it has been useful and that you have learned something, how to use the RB75. I would recommend that you go out and practice a lot, because that's the only way you can acquire targets quickly like this. And I'll see you around. Bad Joe out.